morning. This is such a glorious morning. In fact, Fleetwood or Joan, please bring me your book. And I just want to say again that this book, The Run for Freedom, thank you, such a wonderful book. And I have shared prior that the first 3 people that request Joan's book, we will mail it to you from Interfaith. I love it that much. I endorsed it, and she put my endorsement on the first page, which just touched me so deeply. And it's just a joy. Every Sunday is a joy to be here. When we love what we do and do what we love, there is no greater combination in life than that. And our theme for the month has been wonderful. It's the 5 mystical laws of life. And we went through, living in the now was the first law of life. And then the second law of life was really looking at forgiveness, and that when we really forgive, the energy of the heart opens. And when the heart opens, therein lies that soul within us that lives and moves and has its being in such an amazing, with such grace. And today, as we look at divine synchronicity, and acknowledge that nothing happens by chance, that you didn't tune in this morning by chance, that there was a divine appointment. And people say, well, oh, what a coincidence. However, these coincidences are divine appointments, that they come together through the energy and the frequency that we are putting out into the ethers, into the energy field. So today, as we look at divine synchronicity and think of all the things in our own lives that were absolutely amazing. I mean, here was Joan coming to America from Jamaica because the Jamaican mafia wanted her to share her she was a pharmacist and wanted her to share her earnings, which she was unwilling to do. And so she looked at it, and she said, I have options. And she came to America in 1977 with her little boy and $50 in her pocket. And to create a life that she has created has been miraculous. And what I love about our way of life and metaphysics is that we know that everything that comes into our energy field has a message. It comes on wings. There's a message there. In fact, a very interesting, funny little story is that I moved up here to Desert Edge, and I look out onto my Himalayas and, a prairie. And I went out to the gate. I was going to go get my mail, and there was a package, and there was like a letter on yellow paper. And it said, Dear Dr. Sharon, I received your package from Amazon, and I want you to know that I used to go to your service at the Camelot Theater in Palm Springs. I live behind you. And what is so fascinating about this is that not the same street, not the same address, nothing. It was just, delivered to him by accident, and we know there are no accidents. And then he said his best friend was one of our pillars in our community. His best friend, Ricardo, was in the community. And we've become, I feel, very good and wonderful friends. I just adore him. So we can say, oh, isn't that interesting? The package was delivered. It was an accident. But there are no accidents in the universe. Nothing happens by chance. Everything is a divine appointment. Blessed are they who have eyes that see, that ears that hear, the still small voice within each and every one of us. And that as we open that space, that we are changing the world through the very thoughts that we think. And there is a statement, they also serve who only stand and wait. I always think of the Tibetan monks. And they did an experiment for 30 days. They all came together and meditated on peace. And the crime rate went down by 40% in Los Angeles during that 1 month that they gathered to pray. So we know that, as Tesla said, if you want to know the secrets of life, think in terms of what? Energy, frequency, and vibration, that we're all vibrating at a certain frequency. And when we realize and begin to speak in a way that forwards and advance ourselves, others, and ultimately the planet. And the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart are accepted and received. O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. Whatever we choose to call that which is within us. O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. O God, my strength and my Redeemer. O Buddha, my strength and my Redeemer. It matters not, does it? But to know there is something within each of us that is greater than that which resides in the world. Our Reverend Prince heard a voice over 14 years ago that said, move to Palm Springs from Florida. He had an amazing career. He had all these things in place, and he was very well known. He was a very, big fish, and what seemed to be, the pond was getting smaller because he was actuating his gifts, talents, and what he loved to do. He followed that voice. He came to Palm Springs. And what is so fascinating is that he went to another New Thought ministry. And it was not a good fit. It wasn't a vibrational match, okay? Things are either a vibrational match or not. And so, he's a singer. This is what he does. This is his life's work. And the minister's son said, well, we could put you in the choir. And that isn't really how he envisioned this going. And so he said, I really tried to make it work there. And I went and sat in the first row. And then suddenly, I found myself in the third row and further back to the back row until I was out the door. And someone from Canada wrote to him and said, I think you'd be a really good fit at Interfaith Spiritual Center Worldwide. Someone that had, a snowbird from Canada. So we can say, oh, what a coincidence. So when he came, our music director had put her daughter through college and she had resigned. Now, I had talked her into staying an extra year and we just loved her, Donna Brown. Mm-hmm. And so she wanted to move on and she did move on. And so I said to Fleet, you just sing something. And he just started singing something. I said, oh, that's fabulous. You're hired. And that was our divine appointment. So, it's something when one door closes over here and you find yourself sitting in the back row, making your exit, that is not a vibrational match, is it? And when we try to make things work and just try it kills me. Guess what? It usually does. It's a lot of energy, isn't it? And I have learned in my 77 years on the planet, and yesterday was our last day of the sign of Leo. And I always say, I celebrate the whole month. We Leos celebrate, if you're over 75 especially, that every day is so beautiful and so special. And the opportunity that we have to make a difference and to grow and unfold in miraculous ways and to keep it out there, our growth. Because we are all here on the planet, and I don't care what level of mastery we've reached. We're all here to grow, to evolve, and to expand our consciousness. And as we expand our consciousness and we grow and unfold, we can feel that energy within us. And I always say life is filled with contractions and expansions, but we never contract to the place where we started. So when Lord Buddha said, life is like hands clapping, I've got it, I will always have it. Thank you, Father, Mother, God. Oh my gosh, where did it go? I lost it. Where did it go? I thought I knew who I was, but now I'm in this other situation with these other experiences. Oh, I've got it again. Oh, thank God. And so when we look at life as like hands clapping, got it, I don't. I got it, I don't. I got it, I don't. It's that we want to be in touch with who we are at such a deep level that we live from that nature. We live from it. One of my very, very, the deepest stories, that this is a true story, is about a minister who moved to Brooklyn to take over a ministry. And he got there, and guess what? The church was so broken down. They needed new flooring. The place needed to be painted. Things were just really the pews were kind of falling apart. And so this was October, and he thought, I have a goal, and that goal is at Christmas Eve, we're going to open this church and we're going to have our candlelight service, and it's going to be beautiful. So they got, the task of getting all of the workers together and painting and redoing the pews and completely replastering up by the pulpit and the beautiful diocese. And what happened was that on December 18th, it was finished ahead of time. Isn't that the greatest? We love it when that happens. December 19th, there was the worst 2-day storm they had ever had in New York. So he went into the church and he was just devastated. Behind the pulpit, on the wall, a huge 18 by 20 piece of plaster fell off. He thought, I'm going to have to postpone Christmas Eve. Oh, he was just devastated. And so he, locked up the church and he started on his way home. And he saw a little flea market sale and he thought, well, he pulled over to see what was going on. And to his surprise, there was the most beautiful, large, about 20 by 20 tablecloth that he had ever seen. And the stitching was exquisite. And in the center of the tablecloth was a cross. And in metaphysics, we see the cross as crossing out error thoughts, crossing out what no longer serves us, and transcending that cross. Because remember what Jesus said, destroy this house, and in 3 days, I will build it up again. Energy is neither destroyed nor created. It merely changes form. I am the resurrection and the life. And every single day of our lives is a new resurrection where we arise from the past. We arise in this moment, triumphant and victorious. So he was overjoyed. He bought it. And he took it to the church and it covered that massive, horrible problem area beautifully. And he was like, it couldn't have been more perfect. When we talk about divine synchronicity, oh, there's a flea market. Pull over. The only other person I know that does that is Reverend Fleet. I mean, he always finds the greatest things. And it worked. And so he was just so joyous that it worked, that they could, continue on our Christmas Eve service. And so he got in his car and he saw a woman running toward a bus. And she'd missed the bus. So he said, I'm the new minister of the church around the corner. He said, you can come in. He had actually forgotten to get something. Come in for a minute when I, get some things that I forgot. And so she went in. She sat down in the newly painted pew. And she looked up. And she was like absolutely looking and gazing at this tablecloth in awe. And she said to the minister, I crocheted a tablecloth exactly like that when I lived in Austria. And she said, then the Nazis came and I was to meet my husband. The Nazis arrested him. I had to leave my home and all my beautiful things. And we were quite well-to-do in Austria, but I had to leave everything. And as I fled and closed that door, my heart sank. 35 years ago, I have never seen my husband again. I've never seen my home again. Could you just look in the corner of the tablecloth on the right-hand corner? Are the initials embroidered EBG? Her name was Edith. And he looked and he said, yes, EBG. That was the tablecloth that she had crocheted 35 years, prior. And the minister, he said, let me take it down. I want you to have it. She said, oh no, I want the church to have it. What a beautiful gift I can bequeath out of my experience. And so he drove her home. She was just in Brooklyn for the day. on a cleaning job. And she lived in Staten Island. So he drove her all the way to Staten Island from Brooklyn. He had the most beautiful Christmas Eve service, and all the candles and the energy was amazing. And after the service and the joy that, he and his wife felt that everything worked so beautifully, there was a gentleman that he would see him around town, and he would, come in and kind of check to see how things were at the church. And he just sat transfixed, looking at the tablecloth. And he said, "May I help you?" He said, 35 years ago, my wife crocheted a tablecloth exactly like that. And he said, and then the Nazis came, and I absolutely commanded her, and said, "Flee. We need to leave." And that she left before me. And then I was arrested by the Nazis and went to a concentration camp. He said, that was 35 years ago. And I have never seen my wife since. I've never seen my home in Austria since, but I love America. I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful for this church. I was grateful for your words this evening. I was grateful for the candlelight. And the minister said, "Would you like to take a ride with me?" And he said, "Yes, I would." They got in the car. They drove to Staten Island. They knocked on the door. Edith opened the door. There was her husband that she had not seen in 35 years. Now, if we want to talk about divine synchronicity of an old broken down church, a piece of plaster that falls off the wall, 18 by 20, a tablecloth that absolutely, we could look at the flea market. I'm going to drop by and just see what they've got. And there was this most exquisite tablecloth, crocheted with just amazing precision. Taking it back, a woman misses her bus. She hails the bus and it just takes off. The minister bearing witness to this, bringing her back to the church. Look on the right-hand corner. Are the initials embroidered EBG? Yes, they were. That I crocheted this 35 years ago in Austria. And the Nazis came. And I fled. And my husband, she really didn't know what happened, but she assumed, obviously, that he was arrested by the Nazis. We look at these divine synchronicities 35 years prior, and to have her husband sitting in the Christmas Eve service looking up, transfixed at this tablecloth. My wife crocheted one exactly like it 35 years ago. And I had her flee because the Nazis were coming. I was arrested. And to have the minister say, "Would you like to go for a ride?" And it was the ride of his life, wasn't it? And to reunite with the woman, and neither had remarried, they just carried the energy, that heart vibrational energy within them. And to reunite on Christmas Eve. "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man, woman hear my voice, let them answer, and I will come into them and sup with them, and they with me." This fourth mystical law of life is truly the energy of light. The light, and I loved that Joan shared from her book, that Emerson's quote, that, if we're in a shadow, we're standing in our own sunlight. We just need to move. We need to put the works with the faith. Faith without works is dead. Action with intention. And as we put the action with intention, miracles happen. So remember, the first mystical law was live in the now. The point of power is always in the now moment, isn't it? The second mystical law was about forgiveness. And that when Jesus' disciples said, well, how many times shall we forgive? 7? And what did Jesus say? No, 7 times 70. Forgiveness is always a gift to ourselves. The third mystical law of life, it's all an illusion. So every time we look outside ourselves and someone says, we're in the real world is within us. Be still and know that I am God. Remember, the outer world is what? It's the relative world of conditions, appearances, and effects. It can shift and change at any moment. The real world is within us. And the fourth mystical law of life, there is a divine synchronicity. There is an awe. There is an energy that brings us together magnetically. Remember, a grateful heart is a magnet for miracles. And that as we come together to feel that energy, to realize that someone can flee from their homeland, from Jamaica, with only a little son that she adores, and he's a beautiful man now with children, and $50 in her pocket, and make it. I love how the universe unfolds. The run for freedom, that freedom is within each and every one of us. That which we are seeking, remember, is seeking us. That when Fleet heard the still small voice move to Palm Springs, everything opened up for him. A star on the Palm Springs Walk of Stars. The energy of last week just being in Las Vegas, opening, for the Trini Lopez memorial that they did, which was beautiful. And to see so many of my friends and colleagues that came from these humble beginnings and came from deep pain and suffering, and as I did, being raised in domestic violence, and arising triumphant and victorious. And when we arise through our experiences, then we can serve others. That's why we are here. That's why we are here. So I want you to know, we're all going somewhere. Where is it? Higher yet. Where is it? Higher yet. Where is it? Higher yet. For I am in a high place, and I will not come down. None of these outer things move me. I am in a high place, and I will not come down. Thank you, Father, Mother God, for this way of life. I say to each of you that have tuned in this morning, not by chance, but by divine synchronicity, namaste. The divinity within me salutes the divinity within you, and the divinity within you salutes the divinity within me. And if I am in that place in me, and you are in that place in you, there is only one of us. Namaste. I say shalom, the peace that passes all understanding, and God bless us, every single one. And so it is. Thank you.